Hey, everything around here is broken. You name it, it's broken. So I'm going to stick out a bunch of how-to home repair, auto repair videos, like in clusters. And that's where my bread and butter is anyway, as far as YouTube is concerned. But I'll also be posting some full videos in between them, okay? So it's going to be a little confusing for you guys who play pool. It's like, what does this have to do with pool? And it's just a how-to video on fixing stuff. And after we get done this hose, which is just a real easy thing, I'm starting with the little stuff, you know, moving up. And we're going to a power washer, his water pump blew out. We're going to the Chevy Silverado and putting the headliner in. The Lincoln's got an issue with the dashboard lights, the main computer system that tells you, you know, all of that stuff. That's out. I don't know what's wrong with that, if it's just a little bulb inside the dash, or, you know, it could be anything coming from the computer going into the dash. I've got a bunch of home repair videos. We're flipping the dungeon. I'll explain that when we get there. Just a bunch of stuff, man. And right now I'm catching up and putting tools away. And this is all winter long. Well, for half the winter I drank myself stupid. And the second half of the winter I got sober, and now the weather is breaking. It's beautiful outside. We're looking at 71, 72 degrees outside. It's time to get on this stuff. It's been gone, neglected too long, and so that's what we're doing. I just wanted to catch you guys up on what the hell's going on here. More pool videos are coming. Carly and Lester. That was my birthday. That was I've been cleaning out my computer, and I ran across that, and I couldn't believe it was in there because I bought that computer in 2018, and that particular video was made in 2013. So somehow I saved it over the years from computer to computer. So I guess I probably saved it on a zip drive and then uploaded it from the zip drive onto the new computer. That's probably what I did. That's Jackie. We've been friends a long, long, long time now. She's a photographer. I'm a photographer. And that's kind of how we met up. Never any relationship there other than a good friendship. We've thought about it over the years, but it was never the right time for us. The other woman who shows up in about 5 of my videos, my vlog videos, that's Janice. She died on Christmas Eve. Tragic story there. I really don't want to get into that, but no, the women in the video called the birthday, that's Jackie. She's cool. She just tells me to shut up, you know. Most women get mad at me and she just laughs at me. And it goes back and forth like that too. It's kind of a strange relationship, but we kind of get each other because we're both artists. She's actually an art teacher in a public school, and I think she's retired now, but yeah, that's the art teacher in the school. Yeah, I like Jackie. We get along really good. Neither one of us are ever going to get married again. She was married before. And so if there ever was anything serious to grow out of that, It wouldn't be grown into a marriage. That's just not want to happen. You don't want it, I don't want it. But, that doesn't mean, sometimes you don't really have a choice in that stuff, you know what I mean? You kind of just, love just kind of takes control, and it is what it is, no matter what you want. So I hate putting sockets away because I never know if they're metric or standard. And I'll just get them all mixed up and shit. Right now they're all organized. So you have to stop, and my eyes aren't real good. You gotta figure it out before you put it away. But it beats the alternative of them getting. And sometimes you can't read them, But you're gonna have to do it. I better go get my glasses if I have to. Because there's nothing worse than, grabbing a socket thinking it's symmetric and it's not. And you go back out to the car and it doesn't fit. You just spend your day walking back and forth finding tools. It's much easier to know where it's at. Right. There's other questions too. I'm just gonna make this a Q&A video. Jeff Martin brought up a thing called the Imposter Syndrome, and it sounds like a horrible thing to say about someone else if they're dealing with this, but it's really not. It's not a put down or anything. It's a mental issue that I want to talk about because I know pool players that deal with this, and there's probably a ton of them out there. So what is it? What is it? It's basically not feeling good enough. And I believe it stems from childhood issues, like when you were a kid you did something that you absolutely thought was incredible, but mom and dad, if dad was around, just weren't impressed, so you never got the credit that you deserved, and it just keeps happening over and over. People tend to take it with them for the rest of their lives. And so no matter how great they get at anything, a lot of business people deal with this, but we're going to take the example of pool. If they never got the credit that they deserve for progressing or whatever, then they go, no matter how great they get, they go through their lives never feeling good enough. Because, well, number one, they're always trying to get acknowledgement, and in the pool world, acknowledgement is tough to get. There's a lot of jealous there's a lot of inferior people in the pool world who like to drag people down. If they can't do it, you can't either, that kind of thing. So it's hard, and even when they get the acknowledgement, like let's say Bustamante comes, you beat Bustamante, and he comes up and shakes your hand and tells you you're a great player. It's never enough. It's that there's something in your head blocking Bustamante's words and not getting to your heart. It's a sad thing to actually live with, but I know players that are living with it, and no matter how great they do, you can tell them all day long, they're just, because they're comparing themselves with some inconceivable level of perfection. So if they got a half inch out of line on one ball and 9 racks, they're not good enough. That's what they focus on, and they take that with them. And in the early stages of pool, this holds you back badly, because you never build your confidence. it never ever gets built. I'm going to get real into this in future pool videos um, because I think it's incredibly important and nobody's covering this. Gary, I think it was Gary. Yeah, well, I think it was Gary that mentioned Derby City Classic. I'll be at Derby next January. That's a long ways away. Right before that, I'll be at the Music City Bar Table Tournament in Nashville. I'm going to try to get Ronnie and Mark to both of them. In April, next month actually, Ronnie and I are going up to Pennsylvania for the, what is it, the Great Billiard Expo or something like that. The problem with Derby, and the reason I'm never there, is because it's such a long tour. It's up to 11 or 12 days now. You ever hang around pool players for 12 days? And everything there is expensive, the hotels are expensive, everything's expensive. And 12 days of constant, non-stop grinding pool, man, it takes a lot out of you. And you gotta be in mental and physical shape to endure that tournament. But I'm not bitching about it. I mean, it would be nice to escape everything in life and just go on a pool binge for 12 days. And I'm going to try to make that happen. I'm pretty sure I can make it happen. And I'll try to drag Ronnie to Music City Open and right after Derby's right up the road. And probably some tournaments in between, but they're probably going to be like smaller, regional tournaments. Just kind of passing through. Yeah, that's the plan. And Mark, too. Mark, are you going up to Pennsylvania? I need to know. You said you would think about it. But we're getting closer, brother. And Ronnie's definitely going. I got to pick him up at the airport. So I'm going to be the Uber driver. And that's why I got to get... I don't know if I'm taking the truck or I'm taking a Lincoln. I'd rather take the Lincoln, but I'm not sure I can get that computer system up and going. I don't know. We'll see. And I'm working on it. Hey, we can drag Mark to Music City and Derby too. Yep. It's about time for him to graduate. Rip some elbows with the big dogs. Jeff, I help people all the time. They come up to me and ask me what they need to work on, and I'll stop and I'll watch them. And, I don't charge for private pool lessons. Private or public, I don't charge. If people need help, I'm happy to help, because I'm all about reaching back and making things a little bit easier on the next player coming up. That's why I make these videos. If you happen to walk into the room that I'm playing in, I'm not in a match or playing in a tournament or something, yeah, just come on up and ask me to watch. I can tell what you're doing wrong, usually, even before you bend down and shoot that first shot. And the biggest, most common mistake players make are moving your arm is part of your body. And they haven't worked on their balance enough and getting down right on the ball, that they get down and then they try to get right on the ball. And their bodies are wobbling around. And this is assuming that their stroke is straight. Even if your stroke is absolutely straight as an arrow, and your body moves, your arm is part of your body, your arms are going to move with your body. And I see this all the time in every pool room I go to. And your body moves, your stroke's not going to be straight because your arm is moving with your body. I'm always telling players to work on that. You really have to be steady as a rock and nothing move except this part of, your arm. If their stroke isn't straight, see what people do is they don't. Most players that aren't, real super high level players don't have a straight stroke. So they do things to compensate for that flawed stroke, and they either do it subconsciously or consciously. So now you have two problems, right? So let's say you go through life with those two problems. You're wobbling all over the place, plus your stroke is not straight. So you stop wobbling. And now a straight stroke ain't going to work for you because you're not moving with the stroke. So now that didn't work. You see what I'm saying? So you had two problems, that you're done to compensate for the other problem. And so you fix one, and now you can't make a straight-in shot because you're not doing both at the same time. You see how that works? So you have to rip it all apart and go back to strict basics. And number one is having a straight stroke. But they all work together, so you can't really say this is more important than that because they all work together. That's what people don't seem to understand. I try to explain it to people. You got to go back to the basics, and even if they're good players, and again, they're doing things wrong to compensate for something else that's wrong, and now they have everything that's wrong, and they just have to rip it all apart and start it all over. The good thing about that is you have a head full of knowledge. You know what you're supposed to do with the cue ball. So now, when you do have a straight stroke and you're not moving all over the place, you're not jumping up, you're not twisting your wrist, you'll improve at lightning speed. Yeah, and then, a lot of people don't want to. This is why I wouldn't. Well, one of the reasons I would never. I'll never charge anybody to help me. I was there. Nobody would help me. Well, actually, there were some people that tried to help me. I just had to learn everything the hard way because I have a real hard head. And then you go back 20 years later and say, damn, why didn't I listen to that guy? He was right. You gotta learn, and I gotta learn the hard way. And that's probably how a lot of you guys are like. See, the pull and track attracts the loner, the outcast, and they're not real quick to ask people to help them or trust people that are trying to help them. So that plays against you too. I don't know. I lost my train of thought here. Now, if you see me out there in some pool room, or if you want to come down to Tennessee and hang out, I'll try to help you with your game. I'm pretty sure I could spot any kind of physical problems in a heartbeat. And then you start getting into, well, if you're doing everything right physically, something's going wrong upstairs. And these issues get real personal with people. I'm not gonna play shrink. Number one, I'm not a shrink. You know what I mean? That's up to you to figure out. But yeah, I'll help you with your game. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't anybody? Some people are just dicks, Some people think, like, they'll get good, and you can see they're good. They're shortstops, and they're doing real good. And you go up and ask them, and they're allowed to say, no, unless you want to give me $100, and I'm not helping her. Let's just go up and play and lose a couple hundred. Now I'll help you. See, what they're worried about is that they did all that work to get great, and now they're supposed to just give it all away so you can get great too and come back and kick their asses later. That's what they're worried about. So it's just like this selfish thing, Yeah. A lot of selfish people in the world, you know that. Well, I just go on and on and on, don't I? The video, You Belong Here, hit home with a lot of you guys. The video itself did not do well, but for the people who got it, they got it. YouTube didn't get it, so they didn't promote it. Yeah, over my life I tried to be normal, you know. For a woman, every time I've tried to change who I am and how I think. And I have a lot of quirks, man. I mean, I am definitely not normal. I don't live by clocks or calendars. I don't like cell phones. I don't like email. I don't like a lot of things. I don't like the feeling of being controlled. I'm self-employed, so you know, sometimes you have to live by this schedule when you're self-employed. But the whole reason for me being self-employed is because I didn't want to be controlled by a clock or a calendar or, you know, I didn't want to be a robot for someone's company. So basically, I sleep when I want, I eat when I'm hungry, and I don't pay much attention to time other than certain things in business. I don't know. This is why me and relationships never, this is why I was married for, we dated, seriously dated, lived together for a couple of years, and then we got married in the last 5 years, total of about 6 or 7 years. But when that was done, I didn't go back to pool. And we were both musicians, and everything, I never went back to music. It was all sold or given away. And we had a lot of equipment. And the pool cues that laid in my house the whole time we were married, I sold them as soon as that was over. And the whole thing was cutting off everything and getting on with a whole new, I had to build a whole new life. So I was never going back to pool, never going back to music, and getting on with bigger things. That's what I thought, that were bigger, better things, especially with business. I set out to be a multi-millionaire, and I went for it. And I was like, oh, that'll occupy all my time and energy, so I won't wind up suicidal in some damn hotel room. That's what I did. I just forgot all about music. Then an old friend called, Brittany Rule called me and wanted to go out and play pool. So I was like, yeah, okay. She was going to go out by herself, and I wasn't. Then, you know, I wasn't going to let that happen, so we went out and played pool, and I played absolutely dreadful, just god-awful terrible. And I hated it. I was like, what the hell am I doing back here? But once you're a pool player, you're always a pool player. There's always a piece of you that is picturing yourself running a rack and feeling what it felt like, and it just kind of calls you back in, you know. It just pulls you back in a little bit at a time. So you go out one time and it was miserable, and I'll never do that again. And then a month later, you're back there once a month, and then twice a month, and 3 times a month, and then 5 times a week, and 6 times. You know, it just kind of takes control of you. Yeah, and I'll go along the pool because there's no clock in the pool. So that's what I did, and here I am. I just go on and rain. What was the whole point? Oh, being different, being weird, being strange, and how the pool world will allow that and tolerate that because we got some real characters, man. And it's accepted as long as you're not hurting anyone except maybe yourself. So, yeah. That's why I'm here, Scobie. I don't want to clean up anymore. I came in here sitting down. I just fixed the hose. I'm gonna stick that video up on the tube of you and get that done, and then we're gonna get off on that pressure washer, the water pump on the pressure washer. I'm either gonna rebuild it or buy a new water pump for it. But it's blown out. It's like a dummy. I left water in the pump over the winter, and then the water freezes and blows. It's either going to crack. I don't know if it's cracked, but I know it's leaking real bad. If the water pump is cracked, I'm not going to be able to rebuild it. But if it's just a couple seals within the water pump, I can fix that. I'm probably going to need a new. I'm pretty sure the metal, which is actually just cheap ass aluminum, is cracked. But the pumps you can get a pump for about $90. So we're going to take the old pump off and take the pump apart and take a real good look and see what's going on the inside. And I'm going to show the people on YouTube how these things actually work. And then show them how to put another one, because a lot of people scrap their whole pressure washer when things like this happen, and they don't know they can get out a whole lot cheaper if they just, you know, take a little bit of time and figure out how things work and fix it themselves. If you ever see a pressure washer laying on the side of the road, it's most likely basic stuff. It's most likely blew a water pump, but it could be, you know, that the carburetor's all filthy and clogged up. This is the time of year you see these things sitting out by the curb, and you can snatch them and clean out the carburetors and you know, put a new plug in there and put a new water pump on there and double your money real quick. Yeah. If you want to do it, I mean, that can be actual business for somebody. You'll wind up with like 20 pressure washers in your garage and just rebuild them and sell them on Facebook Marketplace. And boom. Anyhow, that's the next project. And then the headliner and the truck. And we got to figure out a bunch of other stuff too. We have a lot of stuff in the house that needs repairing. The thermostat ain't working right, but I think it's actually a condenser in the heating unit. Not positive. We haven't diagnosed it yet, but there's just a lot of stuff we got to fix, and now's the time to do it. So that's what